These two high rollers are the best survival experts I've ever met, mimicking the hominids who lived in the wilderness 2.4 million years ago. Basically, you want to experience what it was like for primitive people in that period. They learned to use fire, enter the Stone Age, make various weapons for successful hunting, then migration and a series of imitation survival. We ended up with a delicious salmon roast. These two high men didn't just show us about 18 stories of survival. It gives us a section of human ancestors thousands of generations. Little Pig turned into a history lesson for Paige. Only Noah Jane fell in love with the reproduction process of a chong. They set their starting point on the African savannah. Habilis, one of the earliest human species, was born here. This history dates back as long as 2.4 million years. Habilis lives in this area. They're only 6 feet tall, but he jumped up. But it's 6 feet tall. Survival experts Bill and Carter are about to set out to survive in the savannah. They don't have modern tools. Be unarmed. There's no fire. They will be challenged with the same evolutionary milestones. Opening day. 2 high men walking on the prairie. I'm sure they don't even know what they're doing. That's not what I said. They said so themselves. The grassland is big and green, but you can't see where the water is. Just keep going anyway. On the road, they saw a herd of wildebeest. No weapon in one's hand. Any animal could slap them to death. They found an animal path in the grass. Animal trails are paths that animals often walk. There's a good chance you'll find water if you follow the trail. 2 high people just follow the trail. They came across a herd of buffalo. The buffalo will pry the muscles. They had to take a detour, but soon they met wild elephants. I do see it. These guys are taking us to the zoo. They came to wander about in the woods. It looks like an orchard. In fact, there are many thorns in the branches. After leaving the woods, go straight along the path. I saw the tall baobab trees in the distance. This kind of tree is native to Africa. It's about 4 or 5 stories high. Early humans were particularly good at climbing trees. Their arms are thick and curved. The grip is very strong. They also wanted to climb trees like early humans. Hours of climbing and no one standing tall. Careful Bill found some details. There are many scratches on the tree. It's used by the local Hadza people to climb trees using sticks stuck in holes. The Hadza are natives of this area. They earned their living by hunting. On the hunt, they climbed trees to watch their prey. They would stick branches into the trees to make ladders. Bill wanted to climb trees like them. It's still a few hours before dark. The wilds of Africa are terrifying. They want to spend the night in a tree. The 2 men were searching for nails in the jungle. The toughness of this branch is very high. Hanging up a high is not a problem. Bill searched the ground for sharp stones. People used stones to cut things in the early primitive times. Bill found a flat stone. Maybe it could be used as a knife. Bill is cutting the tree with a small stone. Soon you have a whole branch. Carter, on the other hand, was collecting dry sticks. She wants to make a nest-like enclosure in the tree. Sleep at night to keep yourself safe. Gather some dried bark as well. This can be used to make mattresses. These high people have a good idea. Bill polished the branch with a stone. It takes so much work to make a small wooden nail, but with it, you can easily climb a breadfruit tree 4 or 5 stories high. Carter collected the soft bark. With all this stuff that looks like cotton, I'll be able to sleep well tonight. The sun is going down now. They began to climb bread trees using wooden nails. Push the nails into the breadfruit tree. As more and more nails are driven in, creating a primitive tree climbing ladder. 2 men took turns driving a peg into the tree. They've wasted 2 hours just climbing the tree. The sky grew dark. The wolves began to howl. Hiding in trees is their best option to avoid predators. They also climbed the breadfruit tree at last. There's a lot of space in the trees. Stand high enough to see far away. They are going to make their bed on a flat spot to sleep. There was a constant barking of hounds nearby. They packed up the collected branches and carried them to the top of the tree. It's a full moon tonight. 2 people hurry up and make the bed tonight. With bad luck, there's a good chance we'll meet African zombies tonight. They made the bed and lay there to rest. This is really primitive. Opening day 2. I haven't had any water all day yesterday. Bill's lips began to crack. But I remember last night. He was so scared his face was blue and his lips were white because they didn't encounter any zombies last night. But I saw Lim Young passing by. Get up in the morning. They plan to search for water today. Carter hasn't had any water all day. Bill started getting dizzy and cramping. This is an early sign of dehydration in the human body. A long time ago, Africa used to be heavily wooded. But with the land dry, water is scarce. Early humans had to go in search of water. Carter now faces the same difficulty. She dug and dug and dug on the wet ground. I've dug a hole and there's no water in sight. It took a lot out of her. Carter decided to give up on this foolishness. Bill is also looking for water. See cracks in the ground. It means there's been no water here for a long time. Then he found a grass on the ground. The grass is edible, but it's poisonous when eaten raw. It must be cooked over a fire before it can be eaten. It is difficult to find water in this dry area. Water is not necessarily stored as a liquid. It can also be stored in plants. Carter thought she would look for plants or roots that were watery. Soon she found a vine. Dig along the roots of the vine. And Bill has found something new. He saw a bee fly into a hole in the tree, which means there's probably a hive inside. But he can't just reach in with his hand. The best thing to do now is to split the wood with a knife. But Bill didn't have a knife. If it was early humans, they will look for a tool to replace the knife. That's a stone tool. Early humans used stone percussion to get sharp stone tools. Bill now uses the same method to get stone tools. After striking the stone will get a sharp edge. You must not underestimate this stone. This stone is the father of all tools. With it, we'll have honey tonight. Carter's been digging around here. She has seen the root path, but digging like this is really tiring. If I could get a kindergarten teacher, there's not enough dirt for them to dig. Bill hit the hole in the tree with a rock. The tools these two high men use are primitive, but it was the most effective tool they could find. No serious illness on my mind. I don't want to be a slave here in Africa. Luckily, Bill had seen that there was honey in it. Carl also dug up a large root. The roots are really tender and juicy. They performed physical labor while hungry and thirsty. This will accelerate their symptoms of dehydration. I love that angle. Carter lay on the ground tired. She kept pulling hard. Finally, I can't help it. I can't help it. Go away and let me do the same. After replenishing his strength, Carter tugged at the roots of the plant, lying on the floor and enjoying the juice. I can't stop talking. Totally forgot about the other high guy dying of thirst. Good thing she dug up a few more. Bill's been throwing rocks at trees. For a bite of honey, tons of energy wasted. For a few hours. Finally got the hive. A sweet bite replenishes all the energy. It's just a bite of food. But that's what they're having for dinner tonight. Bill wrapped it in leaves and took it back to the shelter. They gathered together. Carter shared the roots she found. Bill ate with gusto. The roots and honey were harvested today. A hard day's work has finally paid off. The breadfruit has given them shelter. But the surrounding resources are scarce. They have to leave here to find more possibilities. This is one of the important reasons for early human migration. They return to the prairie, follow the trail, surrounded by danger. They don't dare go too fast. Suddenly, I saw a lion lying in front of me. The two high men froze in shock. But 2.4 million years ago, early humans shared the savannah with saber-toothed tigers. A saber-toothed tiger is stronger than a lion. If this is a saber-toothed tiger, well, then those two high people would have burped by now. They just stared at the lion. The lion never saw such a shameless man. Then I had to leave with a piece of shit. They once again set out on a journey to find water. Saw elephant droppings on the ground. They are convinced that they are on the right track. Then they found a puddle of water. Dig a hole in the side. It's filtered to produce clean water. The water smells of sulfur. It is very dangerous to drink raw water in the wild. They were debating whether to drink the water or not. It's the cleanest water they can find. There's no choice but to drink it. Looks like they're really thirsty. While drinking water, they thought they didn't have a container. Can't take the water away. So they need to make some containers to hold the water. Food and weapons are what they need most now. They found a termite nest. These ants are very large. One at a time. You'd have to eat about a ton to be full. Carter has eaten the mask of pain. Apparently, this stuff doesn't taste like beef. They ate everything they could find anyway. Their bodies are pushing them to their limits. When they were hungry, they pulled up grass and ate it. These two high rollers survive in Africa with their bare hands, walking all over Africa in a pair of tire slippers. They climbed to the top of the big rock to rest. The black feet look very real. Time came to the 6th day. Bill kept the stone in his hand. They saw a gnawed antelope in the jungle. Make sure there are no lions around. They want to pick up the lion's leftover food. Although there's still a huge shell left, there was enough meat left for them to fill up. They just pick up the raw meat and eat it. Blood can quench thirst, even though the meat was covered with flies. But they couldn't care less. Filling their bellies is the first thing they do. They cut off a thigh with a stone. Take all the food you can eat. This bone will feed them for days. The bones can be used to make soup. Meat can be grilled. They must do it before the lion returns. Gather the food they want. Bones contain a lot of bone marrow. They want to take the barrel bone with them. They got the food and ran away from the scene. It's all flat around here. They decided to climb the tree and enjoy the feast. It does look a lot like early human habits. They dig the marrow out of the bones and eat it. Bone marrow contains a lot of fat and calories. They finally had their first meal after 6 days of starvation. Early humans had no hunting ability. Their only source of food is scavenging. But the fatty acids in the bone marrow provide them with nutrients. It's great for their brain development. Today's meal will fill them up. Bill felt very satisfied. On a full stomach. When they were wandering around, I saw a big baobab tree, but they couldn't get up there. Carter found a big hole under the tree. Maybe they can spend the night in there. This hole in the tree is perfect for them. As they walked into this hole in the tree, I was surprised to find out what everyone in the world had said to the tree hole. I'm a damn charm that they found nowhere to put it. Actually, I've been out of the picture for years. I've been doing an anonymous wilderness survival commentary. But the moment these two high men entered the tree hole, at this moment, I'm going to explode. They think they're safest in a hollow tree. So I decided to spend the night in there. But they still need to plug the hole to sleep well at night. Time is running out for them. There are so many thorns here. It can be used as a fence for tree holes. They cut thorns with stones. In the process of cutting down, the thorns scratch their hands. But it just proves that these branches can be their shelter. It's really hard to cut down trees with stones. They're still in the Stone Age, after all, so only stones can be used. They collected a large number of thorns. After entering the hole, surround the hole with thorns. Early humans were very vulnerable without fire and weapons. So you have to find some natural shelter to protect yourself. The space in the tree hole is very large, even if they're safe tonight. But I couldn't sleep at all. It smelled of bat droppings and rotting wood. The time came to the 7th day. Carter's hand was hurt by a thorn, and there have been some infections. Let's just pray we don't have to amputate. Today they are once again on their way to find water. The days in Africa are very hot. Their state also gradually weakened. In front of me was a big mountain. They have no power to get up there. The detour takes a lot of energy. The climb is also physically taxing. To shorten the distance, they decided to climb the mountain anyway. Fortunately, these rocky mountains are easier to climb. The whole process is like rock climbing. Bill was seduced by Carter's underpants. It takes a lot of power. It was up to Katra to get up there. On the mountain, they could see the sea in the distance. Next, they decided to set out in the direction of the sea. The next two high people are gonna have those same problems. Look forward to the next video update. In the wild, if you could pick up a rock like this, then you have everything. All it takes is a simple polish. Rip out an animal's tendons. Use it to bind the band to rocks and branches, and make it into a spear that kills so much. Wait until the prey passes by. Throw spears and hunt, and that's how you get a wild goat. In this episode, high experts Carter and Bill has evolved from the Stone Age to Homo sapiens. 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens and modern humans have the same body size and brain. Learning to use fire and eating cooked food made them smarter. Habilis stone tools, they only use stone tools. But in Homo sapiens they made weapons. The most common weapon is the compound spear. But Bill and Carter are two high people. This episode mimics Homo sapiens in the wild. Just look at them in leather sleeves and finger sticks. With these two little sticks at the beginning, can realize the dream of eating hot drink. Two people found a small wild quilt in the cauliflower field. Two pieces of fur conquered by machines. 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens came to the highlands of Ethiopia. It's colder here, so it's not surprising to find a wild quilt. Just watch the video and have a laugh. There are abundant resources here. They can make weapons that you wouldn't expect. As for how unexpected, well, that depends on how thick-skinned these two high rollers are. Soon they found a dead antelope. The antelope had abrasions on its legs. They think he fell while walking looking at his phone. Bill and Carter lifted the antelope into the open. Cut a gazelle with a stone. The hide of an antelope is very useful to them. Keep warm in winter. Animals begin to deteriorate soon after death. They have to gut the antelope as soon as possible. The two are like enemies of the antelope. Skin and bone the antelope. Early humans were good at using animal tendons. You can tie the tip of a stone to a spear. After dozens of minutes of busy work, they finally took off the skins. I don't want the rest of the lamb. Hey, what the hell are you doing? I thought it was ridiculous to find an antelope. I didn't expect to lose any meat after the skin. I don't care if you have a thick skin, and then you put a bee on them. The two men kept searching on the plateau. I walked a dozen miles without stopping. A straight mountain of stone stood in their way. They stopped to observe. How do you get over this stone wall? Now Bill felt cold and hungry. It's a desolate place. Both had no strength left. There must be no point in staying here, so they chose to move on. They hoped to find more resources. As Bill and Carter climbed to higher ground, must endure colder temperatures and lower oxygen levels. High altitude can damage their lungs. Early humans also lived in this environment for a long time. They need to adapt to these conditions slowly. But these two high guys are different. They just want to get out of the right place. Bill and Carter are at an altitude of 4,000 meters. Oxygen levels here are 40% lower than at sea level. They need more oxygen to climb the mountain. In fact, this is very dangerous. The higher they go, the more uncomfortable they feel. Fortunately, they are almost at the top of the mountain. There's just a gap right here. The climb was really tiring this time. It's not like your average high guy can pull this off. I had a hard time getting up here. They made it over the mountain. Half a day has passed. They need to find a place to rest for the night. Carter was also very hungry. Soon they were in the jungle. It's all green here. Good thing it has clear water. Come on, the water here is free. Let's drink. After drinking the water, he started on his way again. As for where they're going, I don't know. The humidity here is very high. Their feet never dry. Jungle roads are more difficult than mountain roads. They found a location. It's perfect for a shelter. They decided to find some moss to improve the environment. There's moss everywhere around here. Carter collects a lot of dry moss. Perfect for making beds. Bill looked for dry, raw tinder. But it's very humid around here. It's harder to find dry materials. Bill conveniently collected a lot of firewood. The smaller branches of the tree are drier. This should be the drier material he can find. Carter's cleaning up the shelter. She dug up the ferns nearby. Free up a whole lot of space for shelter. Early humans coped with cold environments. This is usually done by building shelters or making fires. Bill wants to try making a fire by drilling wood. It really makes a man look like a dog. Anyone who saw the last episode knows that. Fortunately, they already have a lot of experience. Bill made a constant rotation with his hand. Take turns when you're tired. You can't be successful without being single for decades, despite seeing smoke coming out. But it's going to be hard to make a fire. They put the embers in the tinder. A gentle puff of air can successfully smoke. The humidity here is very high. Oxygen levels are low. It's hard to make a fire. After an effort on their part, the fire was successfully lit at last. The fire is there, but it's hard not having food. I walked all day today. It's hard to go to bed hungry, but what did it matter to early humans? Time to the next day. They woke up one morning and decided to move on. It's a nice shelter, but it's not rain-proof. They are once again on a journey to find resources. They found a lot of bamboo here. Bamboo is a versatile material. Unless you can't use it, they found a big tree here. It's perfect for a shelter. The two climbed the trees to observe, decided to build a shelter here. Without a knife, it is very difficult to cut down bamboo with stones. It was a second thing, but with rocks. It can take dozens of minutes to cut down a single piece of bamboo. His grandmother has long legs. Takes me dozens of minutes to look at a bamboo. It was a bunch of them in the blink of an eye. I don't read many books, but don't lie to me. At least I graduated high school. Save me a little face at least. Carter uses bamboo to straddle the holes in the trees. You can't do it. If you can't, let Bill do it. Bill wandered around the neighborhood. He wanted to find materials for making spears. Early humans used wood, animal tendons, and volcanic rocks to make them. Bill wants to recreate their composite spear in the same way. He wanted to find some hard rock. Here he found a stream. Streams like this are good places to look for rocks. Long-term currents carry a large number of different types of rocks. This one is obsidian. Obsidian is very hard, ideal for stone tools. You can find these pieces of obsidian. Bill believed he could build a weapon of unparalleled power. Carter was sweating from working at the shelter. The shelter's platform is about to be built by her. After laying the bamboo, they also need to bind the dumplings with vines. This is more work than giving birth to a baby. She believes Homo sapiens have it just as hard. Bill was tapping obsidian. Try to get some sharp stone flakes. The edges of obsidian tools are very sharp. Smashed stone flakes. There's a good chance you'll cut your hand. Perfect stone tool. Takes tens of thousands of strokes. Bill finally got hold of a sharp stone chip. This is rare. Having it is the equivalent of having a knife. Bill collected some useful stones to take home. It can be used to process knives and bows and arrows. After Carter built the shelter, out in search of edible plants. Now they are in desperate need of protein. While walking, Carter got pricked by a plant. This plant has many poisonous spikes. It burns when you get stuck in it. Carter tried to collect it. Just wipe it and eat it. This scene is a little confusing to me. There's so much grass around. Why choose something with thorns to eat? Carter eats like a dog anyway. Bill is still looking for materials to make composite spears. The compound spear consists of 3 parts: a shaft, a front shaft, and a stone point. Early humans threw spears at their prey while hunting. Now we have stones and spears. He also needs to make a front axle. Soon Bill found the material for the front axle. Bill used obsidian to cut branches. The front axle can be removed when it hits the prey. It's a very clever design. Carter came to the bamboo forest in search of food. Bamboo shoots are edible. The tips are very tender. Carter peeled the tip of a bamboo shoot, and then he just ate it. Don't you eat bamboo shoots raw? Looks like this girl's really hungry. Bill's been polishing the stones again. The weapon used to make the compound spear is a stone tip. He needs to grind a stone tip out. This is the perfect stone tip material. Then you just need to attach the stone tip to the front axle. Bill took a piece of antelope sinew from his backpack. This can be used to bind stone tips. Soon a front axle was ready. As for the lethality, it has yet to be tested in practice. Carter is sorting bamboo at the shelter. Accidentally cut my hand on bamboo. Good thing it's nothing serious. Carter wants to make a fire mat, so a fire on the shelter won't burn through. The jungle sky soon darkened. They are rushing to build the roof of the shelter. Tonight's dinner is grass leaves and bamboo shoots. Starved for 2 days. Just a few bites of vegetarian. I wonder if I'll get up for instant noodles tonight. At night, they lay in the trees to rest. Time came to the third day. They had been making weapons this morning. They used bamboo and obsidian to make composite spears. Bill's hand was cut many times. These two high rollers are really dedicated. The best survival expert I've ever met. Their hands-on ability is also very strong. Without the faking of the show, they soon built 2 composite spears. Next, they will continue to search for resource-rich areas. It all depends on the props group to give power. They found a path in the ground. Guesswork is a trail that animals often walk. How dare you say anything? I get it. It's the way these high guys from the show came out. They walked along the road. Suddenly, I saw a goat in front of me, but it's a long way from them. It's harder to hunt. How are Carter and the others planning the hunt? Anyway, that's exactly what it means. Split up and pretend to hunt. Everything else goes to the props team. Carter thought it was a very good hunting spot. Bill thought it would be better to climb a tree and be old 6. The plan was perfect anyway. Carter decided to scare the goats. Let it run this way. Bill will do the rest. Bill doesn't have much confidence anyway. But Carter's been giving Bill a kicking. What if you could hunt it? You're my type. Bill was successfully brainwashed. He decided to climb the tree and become old 6. The two were planning a murder. I wonder if I can use my wits to defeat a goat. When Bill is ready, Carter went to fetch the goat for the box lunch. She walked slowly around behind the goat. Let's see who has the higher IQ. The goat really came this way. Bill sees the moment and attacks. Carter runs up behind the goat and throws. The goat died without a cry. The 2 men crushed the goat to the ground, and the goat is dedicated, perfect for these 2 high rollers. Good performance this time. Don't do it next time. 2 high rollers managed to hunt down this goat. The spear is stuck in the goat's neck. This is the critical knockout blow. The 2 men were not very excited about the success of the hunt. I guess I'm embarrassed too. They moved the goats. Handle goat meat in an open position. This goat is very big. Enough for them to eat barbecue every day for a month. They disembossed the goat. Animal livers and hearts are very nutritious. Carter decided to cook goat liver. Bill handles the rest of the goat meat. Carter grilled the liver directly on the wood. Cooks very quickly. Starved for 3 days. Finally get a bite of protein. That smells really good. Early humans 200,000 years ago. You also get smarter by eating cooked food. Our brains need a lot of nutrients every day, allowing us to develop larger and more complex brains. Bill took a bite of the roast. Just can't stop. I don't need to eat and drink now. But they still plan to move on. Only in this way can more resources be obtained. The food we got today. Enough for them to migrate long distances. They packed up the goat meat and took it away. They took the goat meat and set off on foot. I really don't think about taking 2 days off. They went straight down the river. And then there are the dangers they will encounter. Look forward to an update in the next video. This is the best desert island survival I've ever seen. They're good at making all kinds of weapons. He made a spear out of stones, fashioned a harpoon out of bones, collecting seafood on a desert island. On the first day of the island successfully ate a seafood meal. 45,000 years ago, early humans arrived in eastern Turkey. They are constantly exploring the environment. The population has also become very large. They were forced to find some new land, but ultimately the biggest obstacle was the ocean, so they created ships. This issue of survival experts Carter and Bill will also follow their pace. They walked across a field of reeds. And why is it here? It was all arranged by the director. They'll use their abilities to build boats down the river to a deserted island land. Opening day. They will try to get out of this reed field and reach the sea. The reeds here are bigger than their heads. You can't see where you're going. Soon they came to the fork of the river. The fastest way to get to the ocean is by water. Archaeologists believe that the first ship must have been made of bamboo, wood, or reed. That's how they got to Australia. Carter also believed that early humans crossed the ocean in ships. The most important thing for them now is to build a boat. They need to find a dry place. Bill saw a forest in the distance. The 2 men decided to go to the flat, dry spot to build the boat. But building a boat takes a lot of energy. Carter went looking for some food supplies. She found a kind of grass on the ground. This glass grass is edible. It provides micronutrients and vitamins. She soon collected some back. Bill is looking for shipbuilding materials. The only thing around is reeds. But cutting reeds requires tools. And Bill has very limited tools. So you have to knock on rocks to get the sharp blades. This high guy's been banging rocks since episode 1, all the way to episode 5. There's nothing the show can do without a knife. Bill was banging on a rock. Then look for sharp pieces of stone from the broken pieces. Then they took stone knives to the water and cut the reeds. There are plenty of reeds here. Soon they had gathered a large bundle. They carried the collected reeds ashore. Hunger made their work more tiring. A ship needs ropes. Carter braided a rope from reed leaves. It's strong enough to lift a high man. Bill spread out the collected reeds to dry. Let it dry for at least a day or two. Bill was too tired to breathe. Carter also collected reed rods in the water. He carried dozens of pounds of reeds on the water. Can really kill you. Plus it's hot right now. Carter felt dizzy while moving the reeds. She couldn't carry a bundle of reeds. Tired doesn't matter. What matters is being tired and hungry. They feel like they're going to die. Carter began looking for food nearby. You have to eat to work. Carter found a crab at his feet. She is going to make a container to catch crabs. Carter collected some reeds. Weave a crab trap with reeds. Early humans also learned to weave cages out of grass and reeds. Otherwise, you would have starved to death. Carter quickly weaves a cage. Catch a crab to eat before the sun goes down. She kept searching in the water. Soon a crab was spotted. Take the cage and persuade the crab to surrender. Finally, the crab was caught successfully. But one crab isn't enough for two high guys. Carter wants another one, but she can't catch as many crabs as she wants. Depends on how much the show shows. They roasted the crabs in a fire. Soon they were eating delicious grilled crab. After eating, the two did not have sex. It's about discrediting the completion of the ship. Time to the next day. They got up early that morning to tidy the reeds. They need to build 2 ships. Tie the reeds with rope and make the shape of a ship. While building the boat, the 2 men had a disagreement. Bill tried to stuff it, but Carter won't give it to Bill. Anyway, Bill was trying to shove it in. Carter won't put it in Bill. Suddenly, Bill was unhappy. In the end, they finished the boat in an awkward atmosphere. Time came to the 3rd day. Because Carter wouldn't put it in Bill yesterday, so they built 2 rafts. Building a raft like this is very simple. Just tie the reed with string. Hundreds of reed rods were used to bind the ban, to prevent water from getting inside. The pontoon bridges are then connected to form the boat. The most important thing is that the rope doesn't come loose. If it gets loose, it can cause water to get inside and sink into the ocean to feed the sharks. It took the 2 men 3 days to build the boat. Watching them build, that was a lot of effort. They finally finished building the pontoon bridge. The pontoon bridges are then connected to form a boat. The 2 men launched the reed boat. They don't have much faith in the ship, do they? When Carter got on it, but it turns out that the buoyancy is very good. The ship was clearly a success. Bill and Carter drifted down in the boat. They embark on an unknown journey to their death. Fortunately, the beach is not far ahead. They keep sliding the ORS here. The river in the water is very unstable. Carter was too scared to move. After all, such a deep river. The fall would really kill the crew. The 2 quickly found a place to pull over. What's going on? Why did it stop here? It took 3 days to build the boat. He said he was afraid to die after only a few hundred meters. She's got legs. Do you respect my 3-day wilderness survival commentary? Here they dimly saw land in the distance. The position of the estuary is obviously different from the sea ahead. Hi, Frank is scared, but Carter says we have to go, because there are more resources on the other side. The 2 men began to carry the boat into the water again. This time they sailed directly out to sea. The dangers are even greater, but the waves kept lapping at their boats. After some effort, they were finally dragged to the depths of the ocean by the show crew. In the vast sea, it's just these 2 high guys. The voyage was very hard. Carter began to get seasick, gradually unable to maintain balance. Carter accidentally fell into the ocean, but it doesn't matter. It's good to have a show once in a while. The bitch is lying on her back in the water. At one point, I suspected Carter fell into the water trying to poop. This kind of movie plot. I've seen more than you can walk. Under a flash of starlight. So they came to the desolate island. Now they were feeling very tired. Carter just wants to get back to shore. The 2 were looking for a suitable disembarkation point. Soon we see beautiful beaches. The 2 of them are gearing up and heading there. In a flurry of effort, finally landed on a desert island. 2 high people are about to burn out. Just lie down on the ground and rest. This journey is very tiring. Time came to the 4th day. 2 high men in the spirit of discovery. The sea crossing was completed and discovered a new land full of unknowns. Bill thinks there should be plenty of fish here. He's going to make a harpoon to catch fish. The 2 men set out to explore the deserted island. That's when I take my pants off and fart. Bill the high guy is sitting on the floor banging on rocks again. He's got legs. You can't do anything but knock rocks. You'd be a man if you could get Carter to bark. Carter hasn't been idle either. She's exploring all over the place. Found a lot of M&Ms on the floor. It's probably a weasel or a marmot. It's shit if you don't want to eat it. Can be used as a fire starter. Bill polished a piece of bone into a harpoon. This high guy is really good with his hands. Carter found some resin. This can be used to make glue. Using the rock as a weapon, the discovery was a surprise to Carter, commonly known as the amazing discovery. Bill polished the bones to perfection. This bone is very hard. Carter's already making glue. Millions of years ago, humans have learned to make stone weapons out of glue. It's mainly used for hunting. Carter collected a lump of pine tar. Put it on a stone and heat it. After melting, add some carbon ash and fecal mixture. Animal manure contains plant fibers. The mixed resin will have better adhesion. Soon she made glue. Carter collected the glue into a ball. You can heat it up and melt it when you use it. Bill's harpoon is almost done. He was sharpening the barbs for the harpoon. When you spear a fish, the barbs get stuck in the flesh. Bill fitted the harpoon on the stick. He went fishing alone in a boat. Hey, can you put some pants on? What's the deal with a grown man wearing a dress? There are a lot of reefs in this location. Bill wants to try it here. He dived to the bottom with a harpoon. I saw a lot of urchins on the rocks. It's very nutritious seafood for him. There's enough urchins in this area to shit him out. Carter cut her dress out of stone. She's going to use it for rope. These two stones can be used as cutting tools. This stone is not only sharp but also sharp. With a little work you can create a weapon with divine power. Carter smeared the stick with glue, and then you stick the stone in there and stick it together. Carter and Bill are really good with their hands. It also shows us a lot of survival skills. These two hippies are the only experts teaching us how to survive. Many dives back and forth to collect sea urchins. It wore Bill out, but he had to do it for the food. Bill is an expert in history. Diving is not his strong suit. The sea urchin that was prized open couldn't be picked up for lack of air. Although the food is plentiful, but it is very difficult to obtain. After hours of diving, he collected a lot of sea urchins. Bill takes the urchin back to the desert island. These sea urchins are what they're having for dinner. But the waves along the shore were very big. They were collecting sea urchins. Some washed away by the waves. It's really a shame. The remaining sea urchins are especially valuable. They left the shore. Build a fire on the rock. Carter also collected some conch. Bill was amazed at the weapons Carter had made. This woman is not an idle eater and makes some weapons. Carter breaks open the conch shells for roasting, and Bill uses rocks to treat sea urchins. There's not much to eat in there, but very nutritious. Just enough. You can still eat enough. It's the first seafood meal they've had since they arrived. As long as there is food, they can survive. So what else is going to happen to them? Look forward to an update in the next video.
A little bit. Keep that beaver under the water until it drowns.
My fingers have stopped working. The trap moved. I gotta reset it. Okay.
Survival experts Bill and Carter. They will cross the unforgiving Arctic tundra into North America. They've only got 4 days to get out of here. It's not just cold here, and resources are scarce. How on earth does this hi-fi survival expert survive? Opening day. Survival experts Carter and Bill are crossing the moss. This place is cold and resource poor. They also have to deal with predators. With the simple tools at hand, the two need to survive here. 25,000 years ago, early humans followed the migratory fauna, land bridge to North America, but must have encountered the Cordillera ice cap. This is a glacier 3 kilometers high. There is no turning back. They have to acclimate here before they pass through, so they will live here for generations. People who live on roads and bridges. They were very ferocious looking. Life on the Arctic tundra is brutal. Often they are beaten to death by competition for food, for a bite to eat. Men are out fighting almost every day, and that means living here. Food is a very big problem. They must rely on hunting for food. 15,000 years ago, the Earth warmed. The glaciers began to melt. Early humans were able to reach North America by road and bridge. They've been gone a long time. It's a long way from the coast. They need to build shelters for the night before it gets dark. It's snowing heavily now. There's not a tree around. Building shelters is a problem. Bill wants to build a fire here to keep warm. Fires are more difficult in tundra areas. Early man used his bow to drill wood and make fire. This approach is relatively simple. You can make a fire with your hands. Carter's side wants to set up a shelter. She found a better position, but now it's snowing all the time. It's very difficult to build a sunken shelter. Carter was digging with a small stick. The soil underneath is frozen stiff. In the process of doing the work, Carter's hands were frozen, unable to work outside for long periods of time. Bill actually picked up a bone on the ground. Can you stand that? A location in the middle of nowhere. I found a fresh bone. It certainly can't go to waste. After the sun came out, the temperature has risen a lot. Carter has been looking for a suitable shelter. This location serves as a windbreak.
Even though it's still cold, I need to work. Nature's sleeping bag. It's a little damp, but dead air space to hold in. We'll use some of this moss and the grass and then also cover it with the driest. My fingers are frozen. Thaw them to keep working, but they're so cold. It's probably going to be very cold, so you might be miserable, but you'll live to be miserable.
This is the astragalus bone. Here it is.
top of the spindle goes in here, and it allows the spindle to... This is exactly what I need.
After Bill and Carter assemble, they set to work building shelters and making fires. Bill uses bone as a pivot, made a small bow to drill wood for fire. Maybe this tool is too small. It was a failure several times in a row. They decided to do it differently. Carter pressed down on the shaft. Burla bow.
You tell me when you're stable.
This is a huge challenge. If we don't get a fire, we're going to be in a lot of trouble tonight.
Speed it up a little if you need to.
It'll be dark soon now. Winter nights in the interior of Alaska. It's one of the harshest environments on Earth. If there's no fire tonight, don't tell me Carter is so cold. Even Bill Sausage had to wear a down jacket to stay warm. They've been walking around here for an hour without success. This is so disappointing. Suddenly they don't know what to do. Carter doesn't want to waste his time on this. We're living on fur tonight. Time to the next day. It was snowing heavily early in the morning. It was dead outside. They don't intend to sleep in. There is no fire and no sunshine in this weather. Every minute you stay here could put your life in danger. They decided to continue south in search of more resources. Carter already feels that early humans had a hard time living here. She couldn't imagine how people lived here. They walked for a long time. The snow began to change to rain. That means they did go south. They saw a beaver dam nearby. The two decided to set up a shelter nearby.
Look, there's a beaver dam down there. I can take a peek and see if that's any good. We do need some food.
Yeah, we gotta get under shelter quick.
Cool.
And we still have a long way to go, but we desperately need protein and fat to keep us going.
I'm looking to see if there's any beaver sign over here. Place for me to possibly set a trap. You can tell right here that a beaver uses this path regularly. I'm gonna set the snare right here. This water's cold. I don't even know the last time I had substantial calories. If we can get a beaver, we have food.
Bill is going to set a trap here to hunt the beaver. Just a bite of meat. It's worth dying for.
I have a lot of experiences building shelter. We need something immediately.
Carter was exploring nearby. She needs to find a place to build a shelter. This big spruce tree is a good one. There's a lot of space inside. Carter's sorting the branches. The weather here is very cold. Carter's hands were very sore from the cold. Looks like there's no color left. The most obvious sign of frostbite is lack of circulation. But this is a wild environment. Even when the lady is here, she must do all the work. Bill worked on the big bone on the shore. Maybe 2 episodes without hitting a rock. I hit my hand in a rusty motion because of the lack of wood in the tundra. Early humans only had the resources to make small bows. But the gadget doesn't provide enough friction. They make a bite to hold the spindle in place. This frees up one hand to pull the rope vigorously. As long as the friction is high enough, Carter can give you a shout too. Carter collected some dry materials. And Bill's bite is ready. His first task is to build a fire.
Trying to get set up, get us a fire. Let's hope for the best.
It's looking good, Bill.
Damn it. Someone's there. Oh God, that was so close.
It's okay.
Okay.
What can I do?
I'm here.
Okay, well, I'm ready.
Fire has always been one of humanity's most important resources. 15,000 years ago, humans live here. It depends on fire to survive.
Nice. Oh my God, that's good. Nice. Wait, it's smoking. Hold on.
It's smoking.
Hold on.
After a successful fire, Bill's next mission is to hunt a beaver. He weaves ropes with plant fibers. The woven rope was then coated with butter. It can keep the rope in the water long enough. Bill inserted the wood into the water. Guide the beaver through the narrow passageway. When the beaver approaches the shore, it was forced through the trap and strangled to death. Bill quickly put the branches in place. From this position, the beavers will climb onto land. The water is this flexible trap. This trap looks very scary. Carter started a fire in the shelter. There's enough fire to warm up the neighborhood. She was worried that Bill was setting a trap and getting his clothes wet, so prepare a fire in advance to warm him up. Bill now needs to get in the water and set the trap. Looking at the cold water, he was hesitating.
It is ice cold. And even thinking about getting these clothes off and getting wet. But if this trap works, I'm already cold.
A little bit. Keep that beaver under the water until it drowns.
My fingers have stopped working. The trap moved. I gotta reset it. Okay.
Cold temperatures can cause a drop in heart rate and blood pressure. In such cold water, the body is likely to become incapacitated, which means that Bill is risking impotence by going into the water to set a hunting trap.
I'm freezing. My hands aren't working. I gotta get these clothes on. Running all through my body. And I need to get back to cat as soon as possible. Everything in my body's freezing. My legs are shaking. They're like jello.
When Carter saw Bill come back, "Get out your fur and keep Bill warm." When Bill returned to the shelter, Carter helped him take off his shoes and bake his feet. Time came to the third day. It was really cold last night. Carter went out in the morning to check the beaver traps. She arrived to find the beavers frozen in the water. The beaver played right into Bill's trap. Carter fished the beaver out with a branch. This beaver is very big, provides them with a lot of fat. Carter stones the tail of the beavers. A beaver's tail stores a lot of fat. The meat in this part is also quite delicious. Early humans sought out this valuable source of fat. They hunt a giant beaver. It can grow up to 2 meters tall, weighing up to 180 pounds. They roast the tails of the beavers directly over the charcoal. Bill was already looking forward to eating meat. This beaver has a very fat tail. Crunch for Bill. "I've been hungry for days and I can finally eat a roast dinner. It feels really good to be full of fat." The offal is just as delicious. Even without the seasoning, the simple smell of grilled meat can also satisfy their taste buds. Today's meal gives them enough fuel for tomorrow's journey south. The weather here is changeable. You can't stay warm in the sun all day. Food becomes a key source of energy. Time came to the fourth day. They set out early that morning. Carter and Bill began to continue south. Gradually, they heard birds singing. This is a good sign. They came to the glacial zone. This is a solid glacier. They can't climb this glacier at all. A pair of leather shoes would fall here, and not even Mama would recognize them. The pair decided to upgrade their shoes. Nearby resources are poor. Bill breaks these darts. He lit a fire. Then he started banging on the rock again. Carter is also gathering materials. She is going to make a wooden insole. In such a cold environment, hands are very inflexible, but Bill tied the rope around his shoes. Try this method to increase the anti-slip performance. Then put some resin on it. Glue the gravel to the rope. Is that really okay? Carter made the cleats too. Her plan is quite different from the others. Carter used tree branches to make insoles, though very simple, but these are the best non-slip shoes they can make. The two men began to attempt to cross the glacier. The glacier is currently melting. It was very wet and cold. The ice could break off at any moment. After hours of walking, they left the glacier on 1,000 years of frozen soil. It's very dangerous here. There's powder all over this area and all the time. It was very difficult to walk, but in the end they made it to the shore. They saw the ocean. What surprises do Bill and Carter have in store for us next? Look forward to an update in the next video. This is the most enjoyable wilderness survival I've ever seen. And grind the bone into spikes, make a sharp harpoon, and built a giant shelter out of moss. During the day it can be used to make a smoker. They caught dozens of pounds of salmon, put the salmon in the shelter. After a night of smoking, the salmon is cooked. The two successfully ate a delicious grilled fish meal. In our last episode, Bill and Carter crossed the land bridge at the edge of the ocean in North America. Next, they will reach the North American continent by 2 routes. Bill took the coastal route in a canoe. Carter chose the inland route. The coastal route is closer, but it's a dangerous one. The inland line is safe, but the jungle is complicated. It's time for the salmon to return to spawn. They have to get there before the salmon return. Only in this way can they have a chance to get more food. Opening day. Carter got pricked in the jungle, but it was good. All she wanted to do was get to the stream and eat the grilled fish. 5,000 years ago, humans have learned to fish salmon on a large scale. At the rate of 1,000 salmon per person, they keep the fish and make this place a permanent residence. Carter now wants to get to the beach and find Bill. It's getting late. Carter's looking for a place to build a shelter, and Bill is still out at sea. The canoe was fairly smooth at sea, but the weather is not very good. He had to get to the shore as soon as possible. This is where Carter saw the drainage of the glacier. This must lead to the ocean. The environment here is very humid. She gathered up all the materials she saw dry. Soon she found a dry spot. Carter's planning to set up a shelter here. Bill had been at sea for 5 or 6 hours. He saw the shore. Just as he was about to dock, a big wave came in. There's no danger, is there? But the body is already wet. He's got legs. Put on another dress. The canoe was already full of water. It's very hard to push it. The biggest problem now is that the clothes are wet. Carter's getting ready for the fire. She brought a little fire starter. It was Bill's life all the time. Now it's my turn, so you have to rely on some small tools. The rotary disc is very easy to start a fire. Basically, you just need your hands. But I don't know if I have hands with Carter. It's very cold now. She didn't bother to light the fire. Just put on the blanket and go to bed. Bill's still hanging out on the shore. He's the worst off right now. My shoes are empty and my clothes are wet. Bill found a fallen tree. It's barely sheltered in here. He's cold as hell in here. Now he's worse than a dog. Time to the next day. Carter began his journey early that morning. She had to get to the shore as soon as possible to look for Bill. Bill's clothes are not dry yet. You can imagine how hard it was last night. Carter had a rough night too. The jungle road is not easy. The field of view is also very limited. She saw some mushrooms on the ground, but I'm not sure these are edible. The main target this time is salmon, not these mushrooms that don't taste good. Carter's trying to find Bill now. Bill, on the other hand, pushed the raft out to sea again. Where the hell is this high guy going? He came to the position of the seaweed bed. There are huge tracts of seaweed. Bill collects some kelp. These kelp are rich in iodine. It's great with grilled fish. He collected some to take away. Carter follows the stream this way. She hoped to reach the coast by this message. Bill came to the flat shore. There's a river just ahead. He intends to land here, but the waves nearby are very big. It's very bad for his raft. A big wave came. Bill's raft became a coffin. The photographer kept looking for Bill on the shore. Did this high guy drown? The next he was on the shore. Hey, this high guy's got away with the show. The wind is strong here. He ran to the rocks and curled up. You look like a high guy who just got raped. Carter is very hungry right now. She wants to find some wild fruit to eat. Rummaging through the jungle found some dried berries. She still put it in her mouth. What we really need now is salmon, not all this starving stuff. Bill took off his clothes to dry on the rocks. He also came to the shore in search of protein. There are lots of barnacles or conches on the rocks, but the waves here are very big. Bill collected some at random. These things are not enough to eat, but it will keep you from starving. He was shivering with cold. There's not enough of this stuff for the calories. Bill lit a fire by the sea. I'm gonna grill these barnacles. Carter's trying to start a fire. She had so many tools she couldn't start a fire. Bill's already had some grilled seafood. These barnacles are delicious. He thought it was worth it. Carter finally got the fire going, but she's still starving through the night. Time came to the third day. Today's mission is to reach the sea. In the next moment, she appeared out of the sea forest. She saw Bill's boat, but the position is a cliff. There's no way down here. Soon she saw a hole ahead of her. Carter is going to get there and get to the beach. The jungle roads are very difficult. The main thing is the view is bad. Carter kept an eye on Bill on the beach as he walked. They need to hurry. Salmon travel back only a short time. The slope here is more suitable. Carter decided to slide down here. This girl loves to play on the slide. Maybe the thrill of the shock was enjoyable. Soon she reached the foot of the mountain. Carter went through the hole looking for Bill, shouting on the beach. It's not like Bill wasn't on the beach. Just took a shit behind a rock. I was too embarrassed to answer Carter's call. I don't want Carter to show up and see him pooping. The two decided to take a raft into the inland river. The water in the river was very calm. The two men sailed well up there. Now they need to find out where the salmon spawn. This time now, salmon swim upstream to spawn. They need to find a place where the river narrows. The salmon will concentrate there. It makes it easier for them to fish. They decided to look for a branch of the stream. Soon they came to the position of the stream. Bill and Carter walked up the stream. The stones here are very slippery. The walk was rather difficult. They found dead salmon here. There were dead fish all over the neighborhood. What's not a good sign? They think they're already late. Carter guessed that the fish had been caught in a rock. Salmon typically travel back for a few weeks. Maybe they still have a chance. Soon they saw a salmon that was still alive, but you can't grab it with your bare hands. These fish are too raw in the water. To catch these salmon, they have to make tools to have a chance. How to preserve the caught salmon is also a problem. Carter is going to make a shelter to smoke the salmon. She formed a shape with branches. Frame the branches as a shelter. Carter is constantly using the surrounding branches. Bill's side wants to make a big net. Good thing we brought a lot of rope. These ropes bind the band to each other. Weave a web. It's definitely a delicate job. The shelter frame is ready for Carter. Now she's going to build a fireplace inside. This fireplace is mainly used for smoking fish. Bill weaves a fishing net on the vine. I can't believe this high guy knows how to sew. The net was soon made. Carter's got a lot of moss up here. She's going to build an airtight smoker oven. Cover it with boards and moss. This insulation effect is absolutely good. Bill's going to make a harpoon. Use bone to create a spike. It's used to make leaden spears. As early as 5,000 years ago, humans used leaden spears to catch fish. Leaden spear revolutionized their fishing industry. It consists of 3 strategically placed barbs. The barb on the harpoon trapped the fish. Bill uses bone to polish it into spikes, then put it on a stick to make a barb. Tie the band with a string, then heat up some pine resin. Spread the branches over the barbs. It makes it stronger. That's a great detail. Carter's smoky oven is complete. All we have to do is build a fire outside. It raises the temperature inside. You can cook smoked meat in it during the day. You can sleep in it at night. This is really a shelter that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Now they have everything ready. I've got the harpoon in the oven. All that's missing is big, fat salmon. Time came to the 4th day. Today they begin their fishing plan. The 2 men took their tools to the stream. There are a lot of migratory salmon here. Can't have a full meal. It all depends on their fishing skills. The 2 played around in the stream. In a matter of seconds, I handled several large salmon. The fish weighs at least 10 catties. Bill is treating the fish with rocks. Carter started to light the stove. The fish is bright red and delicious, but these high guys don't eat fish heads. Can't do anything but bake. The other fish was very white. Fish is low in fat because of the eggs. Salmon die soon after spawning. Fish roe is very nutritious. Seeded salmon is not tasty. Bill hung the fish on the branch. Carter just took it and hung it in the shelter. Smoke can begin at the mouth that seals the shelter. Grilled fish should be smoked for at least 1 night before being enjoyed. Time came to the 5th day. Carter was out collecting berries early in the morning. Bill is checking last night's smoked fish. It's thoroughly cooked. Tastes really good. Starved for 5 days. Today we can finally enjoy the grilled fish dinner. Carter also picked a lot of chanterelles. Dried seaweed is also made. This meal is making my mouth water too. This must be the most enjoyable wilderness survival. The salmon is beautifully seared. I don't know what it tastes like, do I? But watching them grill the salmon, I think it's really delicious. Alright, Man in the Wild is over for the season. Along the way, survival experts Carter and Bill. They showed us so much about wilderness survival. And the best fight expert I've ever met. Follow me for more awesome wilderness survival.